In a world overrun with an infinite amount of multiverses originating from a plethora of sources, a group of longtime friends band together and try to make sense of it all and present it to an audience in an easy-to-digest podcast. This is Geeking Off The Page. Welcome, geeks, to another episode of Geeking Off The Page. I'm Troy.
And I think I'm Trevor, but it's been a while.
It has been, hasn't it? Actually, it's been about, around 6 months since we've actually had a Geeking Off The Page episode. And myself, it's probably been about 8 or 9 months since I've actually been part of an actual Geeking Off The Page
So again,
episode.
I'll say it's
yeah,
been a while.
It has been a while, yes. And we are now in the well-anticipated return, just probably anticipated by us to finally do one of these again. But
someone's got to anticipate it.
Someone's got to be anticipated. Yeah. So it's,
So
there's been a lot of crap that's been going on. But as I can see, we are both donning our Star Wars for the anniversary of Star Wars today. So that's a good place to start off with.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. We at the household, I personally woke up and threw episode 4 on my phone. I carry it around. It's downloaded onto my phone, so I constantly play it and all that. So I think I played in the background the original trilogy for sure is what I got through, and then there was other stuff to do during the day, so we weren't able to do much of a Star Wars thing. But Star Wars was represented here today, and
not as much here as usual. It's just so it's my daughter's birthday tomorrow. So my wife took her out to the Great Escape, which is kind of like Canada's Wonderland. And so her and a bunch of her friends. So I was juggling other children at home who were less enthused about Star Wars unless a lightsaber was involved. And me, mainly, could they get their hands on it and swing it at Daddy? So yeah, I was beaten up by several foam lightsabers throughout the day.
Sweet. There's a lot out there, but there's no reason for us to go back 6 months and all that to talk about all the stuff that's in the past, because that's been over and rehashed several times and all that.
Exactly.
But what do you want to talk about to begin with, Trev?
Let's see. Well, I gotta put on my reading glasses because it sucks. I was going to start with, in the theme of Star Wars, the Tales from the Empire.
Yes.
It was 6 episodes of
on the May the 4th. It was released on May the 4th of this, obviously, of 2024.
And it happened. It was Now
I know you didn't follow much of the animated series to begin with, all the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch and whatnot. You did? Okay.
I even, because someone had told me that this last season of Bad Batch was worth watching, so I actually watched all of it.
What did you think of it?
Yeah.
Compared to what you had seen previously of Bad Batch.
It was the last season. I think was the best season.
The previous season,
than anything else they had done. It was, they weren't afraid to take some risks with characters. I wasn't a big fan of the ending. I think we should have seen all of Unit 99, not just the one, as Omega takes off. So, but so, and then it was like, hey, look, we're going to have Tales from the Empire, and then upcoming is in June is the Acolyte. Your microphone's kind of kicking in and out.
Is it now?
Yeah, you're really far. It's like you're 2 hallways away.
Here, let me put it right up here. Does that sound better?
That sounds better. Yeah. All right. I think if the mic doesn't catch your voice, it reverts to the other set, and it's not the best.
Oh, I see what you're getting. Okay, let me point this more towards me then. How about that?
Okay. So, and then Tales from the Empire. So I kind of liked the other series, Tales of the Jedi, because we got to see Osaka or Ahsoka when she was like a baby, and we got to see Dooku and stuff like that. So we got some backstory for some characters, and then Tales for the Empire, it was like, hey, we don't want to rehash Anakin or Darth Vader too much, so we're just gonna grab some absolutely background minor fucking characters and expand their backstory on, because we had the lady from the Mandalorian who showed up horribly in Ahsoka. Um and honestly, I was like, I don't care about her, but fine, let's see what kind of backstory they can throw together. And they shat one out. I'll give them that. They shatter out a backstory that was horrific. Um, yeah, it was, to me, Tales of the Empire was a whole lot of wasted time. Like, you're giving me backstory on characters that you glimpsed in the way far background that were like, hey, that person was there. Okay. But do we need a backstory on them? Not really. You know, it's to me, it's again, it's this whole thing of trying to set up a sympathetic backstory for a villain. It kind of takes
I don't think it was much of a sympathetic. Well, okay, I see what you mean by sympathetic. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
you're trying to like evoke some feelings of, oh, they had it tough, so I can see why they took that path and, down the dark. I don't give a shit. Stop making my villains touchy feely, and so that I care about them, or you're trying to make me care about them as a person. No, I want them as a big bad, like the bullshit they did with Maleficent, or even Annie for Vader. I did not need to know. I didn't need to see Anakin Skywalker as a whiny 9-year-old kid I'd like to punt down a flight of stairs. Um, it didn't add to the menace of Darth Vader. If anything, it took it away. It's like doing a backstory on Agent Smith from the Matrix, and you found out, oh, well, he started off life as a simple calculator program, and he was abused because people kept trying to turn him sideways to make him go into scientific mode, but he couldn't do that because he hated laying. Like, why bother? So it's things like that, like when they try to give us a prequel and they're like, oh, but now we're going to star the villain that you're all afraid of. We're going to make you sympathetic to this villain, which is, I will admit, Cruella, um with Emma Stone. It was nice, um but it took away from Cruella DeVille. Even the live action one with Glenn Close, she lost it. You lost some of that menace, because the whole time you're thinking, well, she lost her mom when she was little. Poor her. And it's stuff like that that really, like, it just gets my goat, that you're like, I don't want a deep sympathetic backstory to a villain I'm supposed to be afraid of. Yeah, Jason Voorhees, got drowned in the lake by a bunch of counselors, and his mom was the first villain of the first movie, but he eventually became a villain that you were just like terrified of. That's fine. Freddy Krueger got tossed into the furnace by angry parents who thought he was a bad guy when he really wasn't. Their origin story is fine, but then don't give me Freddy Krueger as a 5-year-old, getting the lollipop knocked out of his hand. That gets annoying. It's just, don't don't pull the fangs out of the villain by giving me an over the top sappy backstory that's supposed to make me go, oh, poor person. I can see why now I'm sympathetic to them being so angry. No, I want to be like, I want to be that little kid the first time you see Darth Vader like walk down that hallway after the stormtroopers shot it up. I remember, tiny little me sitting there in the seat, and Vader comes through the smoke, and I'm just like, oh, just terrified. And when he picks the guy up with one hand, you're just, oh, that's a full grown man. He's picking up with one hand. Oh, that's that kind of terror. But then you say, oh, look, it's Anakin. It's little Annie, little pod racer who lost his mom. It yeah, don't take the teeth out of my villains that way. So Tales from the Empire kind of did the same thing. They took characters who were, yes, okay, they were there, but then like, oh, hey, they're villains, but let's give them some backstory, and let's give them some redemption story, and some of this and some of that, and it's a whole heaping pile of I don't care. I still want the Tales of Lando Calrissian. That's an interesting series.
Everyone wants the Tales of Lando Calrissian. I mean, yeah.
Come on, before he dies, get Billy D. Williams to narrate part of it, and get Donald Glover to, it'd be great. Yeah. But instead, we get this garbage and the upcoming Acolyte, which is honestly not really inspiring me to watch it. The more stuff I see it, the less I want to watch it. So yeah, that's my hot take on it.
Well, see, the thing is, Disney Plus is taking full advantage of the fact that they have complete hold of what Star Wars is, and they can gear it to whatever they want to bring into that. And what it is, it's basically them saying, hey, we got a new Star Wars thing. If you haven't already signed up, you got to sign up to watch it and all that. You can sign up for no commercials, or you can sign up for like several different accounts and all that sort of thing.
Honestly, if my kids weren't watching stuff like Big City Green and stuff like that on Disney Plus, I would just cancel my subscription at this point. I'm just not thrilled with what Disney's putting out. Like, it's really subpar.
Yeah, we're watching a lot of back catalog Disney stuff. That's the main reason why we're holding on to it. But again, I'm a devout fan of Star Wars, and knowing that I can get access to everything that is currently Star Wars except for the holiday special on Disney. Well, actually, technically, you get part of the holiday special on Disney Plus, because the animated portion of the holiday special is available on
the only part that acknowledges existing.
Exactly. Yes. And it's nice to be able to add a couple of button pushes that I can watch anything. I've got everything on DVD. I've got digital copies of a lot of the stuff, but I mean, I'll pick and choose what I want to watch. I'll watch everything, and then if I don't like it, I was like, oh well, someone else is, because people are it is being mentioned that people are enjoying these series and ongoing stuff. And again, it's not for everyone, and it's never going to be for everyone. Not every fan is going to be behind everything, because it just appeals to different generations now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fine. I look at this is more geared for what my kids will enjoy. I will say the young Jedi stories. The whole time I'm thinking, man, Anakin at some point, they're all gone.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that was one of the things, keeping in the Star Wars vein, that I had watched, and I was, okay.
I again, like you, I mean, the Tales of the Jedi was fantastic. I love seeing the background of Dooku. It was kind of neat to also see a redesign of the character that you knew through the Clone Wars animated series in a younger form, and even like sounding like a younger version.
Well, not only that, but we kind of got to see some of the planted seeds of his dissatisfaction with the Jedi.
Yeah, which was, I think, the main reason for it.
Yeah, like even at an early stage of his career as a Jedi, you saw that disillusionment starting to kick in, and it was nice. It was kind of nice to see, like, Jedis were kind of abusing their authority, and he's like, no, that's not why we're supposed to be here. We're supposed to be doing this, and
exactly.
And, being told by his trainer, nope, this is what we're doing. This is how we do it. It's like, oh, okay. So yeah, it was nice to see that. But then when you just pick two, honestly, randos and say, hey, we're gonna do Tales of the Empire, they could have done 6 separate stories and done like a TIE fighter pilot who they eventually realizes is Force sensitive, or just random people from the Empire, their point of view of like the person who's excited to be, he got his transfer to work on the Death Star. Exactly. Telling his family, like telling his dad, hey dad, look, I'm moving up. I'm now a lieutenant, and I'm going to be working at the Death Star, the pinnacle of the Empire's technology, and then along come the rebels and fix that little red wagon. Things like that. I think Tales of the Empire was a wasted opportunity. You had 6 episodes. You could have told any story you want. You could have told one story across 6, or 6 separate slices of the Empire, 6 separate facets of the Empire. That's what I would have preferred to see.
Yeah, I don't think doing anything associating yourself with the Empire and making both stories, both force generalization. Like of course we introduced more lore about the witches of Dothmar and all that sort of thing.
I think the video
did
games
more
did
of exactly, yeah.
the Jedi Survivor video games really delved into
exactly,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I mean, they could have done like the different generals, like the general who was in charge of like the ground campaign of Hoth, from his point of view, Hoth from his point of view, or
exactly,
stuff like that. That's the stuff they could have delved into. I think it would have been a lot better.
I also think they wanted to, but I think one of the main reasons they did what they did is because I think they wanted to stay away from any of the pre-existing stuff. Like, I don't think you were going to see any, like, I mean, it was cool to see Vader in there, but
I think this was a lot of, I know I'm basically taking Mike's role. It was a lot of let's take some female characters and hype them up.
Yeah,
the upcoming Acolyte, where 90% of the cast is female, or LGBTQIA, now with the plus. So it was, again, it was just, you might want to stay away from that existing timeline of Star Wars to Jedi.
Yeah.
But there's other places you could have gone, but didn't,
Yeah.
So,
which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's jumping back and forth on your mic from.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, exactly. I might, well, no, I can't, because if I turn off I won't be able to hear you at all. So,
yeah.
All right.
So the thing that I'm not finished yet. I'm only 2 episodes in. It's called RoboDoc, The Making of RoboCop. It's on.
Really? Okay, what's it on?
It's down here in the States. It's on Amazon Prime for free. Okay. It's just a documentary. It's just like episode and they go through every facet of getting RoboCop from an idea to the screen. And they have interviews with the producers, the director, the writers, all the actors and actresses. It's quite the scarf you got there. Like Peter Weller sits down, and they are completely unabashed about their opinions about what it was like to work on the film, what the reaction after the film was made. And they go through, like, when they were coming up with casting, you see the casting lists of like all the people they offered it to and got scratched off. And the one guy saying he was responsible for capitalizing the C in RoboCop, because up until that, everyone was like, this sounds like some sort of like cheesy 70s flick. I don't want to work on that. I don't want my name associated with it. So so far, as I said, I'm 2 episodes in, 2 of 4, and it is phenomenal. There's so much behind the scenes stuff they talk about. It's great. I highly recommend it to anyone who, if you enjoyed the movie RoboCop, definitely watch it.
Is there any like new archival footage and all that, or is it mostly?
Yeah.
Cool.
They talk a lot about the design of how they designed the suit. And then originally, like, different people that the studios, like, they were like, we wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's a big guy, and when you add the suit onto him, you have a walking trash can because it's just, everything's so bulky. So they needed an actor who was slim enough, but strong enough. And so that narrowed their list down even more. They were talking about the different Carradines. And a lot of it was they had a small budget. And initially, like, they were like, we want to do this for 12. And then they're like, we're not doing it for 12. It's like, all right, how about $9,995,000? And they're like, okay. He's like, I couldn't do 10 because they said no to 10, but they would do 995. So it's little things like that. And then, like, Ed 209 was basically just, they threw a concept at Phil Tippett and said, what can you make with this?
What he made was perfection.
It was. And they talk about, so the actor who takes all the gunshots in the boardroom, they had to film that so many times, and those squibs are going off, And
Oh, let
they
me
were talking
guess,
about
like
when a
bruised
squib pulls,
chest.
it's when it goes away from your body and then fires off,
Yeah.
it punches into you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they, covered. And the thing is the director was like, more blood, more blood, more. So they went over the top with the blood. So it's like spaghetti squash as well. And so it just, and squibs are firing off and firing it into the air, and people off screen are getting splattered with it. And the guy's laying there, and he's like, the last take, one of the squibs was at like his belt and had slid down and went off. It like crushed against his testicles. He's laying there, doesn't move. He's in absolute agony, and they just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. And the whole time he's trying to fight the body's desire to start to shake because he's in so much pain. And finally here's cut, and the guy runs over and says, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Get the fuck off me." And just like, because they saw the squib, and that particular squib hit is in the final film, so it's right at his nuts. So. Oh yeah. But they were like, I think this is the most number of squibs fired off onto a single person in a single scene, because it wasn't just the front hits, it was also the back hits. Yeah, because
it was supposed to be penetrating shots. Yeah.
And that poor guy. And they have the interview with him, and he's like, "Oh, if I'd known what they were going to do to me, I would have said fuck no." But there was, what's nice is when they're talking to different actors, like the guy who played Dick Jones, he'd been typecast as kind of like the friendly father figure. So he finally got the chance to be a villain, and he's like, I'm gonna go into this like full fucking throttle. So it's if you like the film RoboCop in any way, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch this documentary.
Nice. All right. Something that just recently wrapped up about a week ago, I believe at this time, X-Men 97, the animated Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
Now, I remember when it first started, you, in our little conversations that we have online, even though we don't do any podcasting, you had mentioned that you were not too impressed with the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, so they tried to painstakingly recreate the art style, but they didn't recreate the animation style. It looks in stills very much like the original X-Men, but when it moves, it's horrific. It's not as like the original X-Men was very illustrative. So it was a lot of like standing poses, mouth move, and then they'd move. And that's why this they tried to like fully animate some shit, and it's just like no, so they had to like make some design changes to allow them to animate it, and those design changes really show. I will say that they have pushed the storyline further by killing off some people, and spoilers. And they've kind of taken a lot of sampling from the X-Men comics of the 80s and 90s and kind of put them in.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
And so I appreciate that. I appreciate the writing. It's the art style is very jarring to watch. It's almost like they're trying to do what Amazon Prime has with Invincible, but not understanding how they're doing it. So they're just like, "Oh, we'll fake it." And it shows they're trying to fake it. Okay,
I'm just gonna come in and say that I really enjoyed it. It was I think that near the end, I think the final 3 episode arc was cramming so many issues,
far too many
issues.
They were taking whole storylines, and condensing it to like
yes. Now I know the original series did that as well. They took the Jean Grey Dark Phoenix and like compacted into like 3 episodes.
Yeah, of course.
But they threw at least 7 or 8 issues per episode.
Sometimes more than that. They were like, "Hey, there's a whole like 2.5 year run here. Let's put it as one of the plot lines in this last 3 episodes."
Exactly. Like, now, if you didn't know the history of X-Men, if you're coming to it at this new thing on Disney Plus, and then you go back to watch the originals, which is also on Disney Plus, it matches up. You see the storylines condensed and all that sort of thing. But being a fan of the series since like the comics, since like the pre 80s and 90s versions, you see all those storylines and I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, that could be a whole season by itself.
Exactly. Like the beginning of that final 3 episodes could have been stretched out to the 3 episodes to set up the storylines they used in the second 2 episodes to be a full season as well, which would have been fine.
I think each of those 3 episodes could have been a season.
Oh, totally. No, you could have the amount of crap that they threw into each episode. Yeah, no.
It just felt like they're like, put in more, kitchen sink it.
Yeah,
where's
exactly.
the fridge?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. There's this one of the guys that I work with this is his first introduction to the animated series on Disney Plus, and he is all like, wow, they put a lot in the storyline. And then I explained to him, well, here's why what they did do, and he's all like, really? And I'm like, yeah, no, you don't know the half of what you just saw. Because the Madeline Pryor and just throwing in the Goblin Queen as just a secondary remark,
like an afterthought.
At least is calling herself that as an afterthought exactly is something that was like issues in the making
that was
make
like over
Marilyn Pryor. And she was Marilyn Pryor before she became the Goblin Queen. And
she was that for a while.
Exactly. And to have her, and look, I love the homage to the original costumes. They got everyone back in the same costumes. The blood was nice. I mean, that was an unexpected thing. You expected the pulling of the adamantium at one point.
I mean, so the second I got to the point, I'm like, at some point, Magneto's ripping that shit out because even though it was a huge pivotal moment in the comic books, they're just going to chuck that in as a side note.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if they go feral Wolverine in the
where he loses
next
his nose
season with no nose and all bone claws, okay, let's go that way. I was thrilled to see Nightcrawler, my favorite character, be brought into it more, because apparently he wasn't very much in the original series. He was only in a handful of episodes, and to see him in almost as many episodes as he was in the original series, it's just a fun thing for a fan. The returning actors doing the voices are fantastic. There was a couple of switch arounds. There's a couple of, apparently the guy that does Gambit's voice now is the kid who did the Marty McFly voice in the video game. And the original actor that did Gambit is now doing the voice of Cable.
It's just
exactly. But it's the original Rogue, it's the original Wolverine. So it was from a nostalgia point of view, it was nice to see this, and the friggin' breakneck speed, it was wow.
It was just like every episode felt like, just put the seatbelt on because you're gonna
hold on,
hang on, because this roller coaster is going fast. So it was. There was a lot. The writing was pretty good. Trying to because for people who have no clue about X-Men, they tied a lot of it together pretty well. Unfortunately, they just tried to cram a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yes, exactly. Which they could have I think they just threw everything because they didn't know what they were going to, if they were going to get a second season. So they just shot their wad and there we went. Thankfully, we are getting a second season. It's probably going to be another 2 years for it to come out. But or more. Or more. Exactly. But I really enjoyed it. And when did Sunspot learn how to fly? I don't remember Sunspot ever.
I don't think he knew how to fly.
No,
just like I didn't know that Morph could take like the shape of the Hulk and be as strong as the Hulk.
As strong as, I don't think he was as strong as
I don't
the
think
Hulk.
He was. I think there was a definite
extra strength to him.
He had strength based on the size of the person who was morphing into, but he didn't have their powers.
No, I don't remember him having the powers either.
No, because then you're like, well, I'm just going to turn myself into Franklin Richards and change reality. Like, whoa, that's kind of a little overpowered.
But I did like the fact that they introduced other Marvel characters, which is kind of neat and all that. So you're seeing Captain America and Iron Man, like classic Iron Man costumes. Daredevil was a nice one to see too. Seeing Daredevil in a couple of shots was kind of nice and all that. And the interaction with the characters was great. Friggin' Rogue tossing Cap's shield so that she can't, so that he won't follow her. Yeah. So
go find your shield. Fetch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was interesting. Another series that I had hopes for and they delivered was Fallout on Amazon.
Yes, definitely. And again, it's nice that it was an original story, which was kind of neat.
They didn't just grab one of the video games and
exactly
like, different location out in California, more of the Enclave than the Brotherhood of Steel. Brotherhood of Steel is there, but you've got the other guy from an Enclave.
Yes, yeah.
And you didn't. What was nice is you didn't have to have a whole lot of Fallout lore. They kind of explained some things along the way, and not with someone saying, "By the way, blah 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 blah." They
gave you the right amount of information for the situation, and then as long as you remembered that stuff, it played perfectly later on. And all that. And they basically spoon fed you what you needed to know. They didn't go over top. And again, like you said, it wasn't very like explanation like heavy, which was fantastic.
And I have to say Walton Goggins as the ghoul
was... oh my god and even in the flashback sequences,
the flashbacks when he was still it was tremendous. Like they did their homework on this one. They had the power armor. I was kind of sad that we didn't see Deathclaws until we saw the skull at the very end, but now we're going to New Vegas.
Well, apparently the guys that working the effects were all like, look, we know what has to get out there, and the one reason why they are missing from the first season is because we wanted them we wanted them to be prominent in like anything new that we have, because they just threw so much, which was and again working with Bethesda to begin with, you're going to have everything available.
And you had they had the rad roaches, which was nice. And it felt like it was post-apocalyptic, and I like the fact we jumped back to the past. It had that 50s retro vibe.
Because that's always a difficult thing to try and pull off properly, like telling a storyline in two timelines. Now, obviously, they just it's not like Lost where you're running half your episode is in the past and half your episode is on the island, off the island sort of thing. But this gave you your sneak peeks to why things became the way they did or something like that. Yeah.
They did a lot of set something up in the past and then you see it in the future, and and at the very end when the ghoul's like, where's my fucking wife and daughter? Because now he knows that a lot of the Vault Tech people got frozen and put away in storage. Where's my wife and daughter?
Exactly. I love how they decided to not pull back on the gore. Because going into it, there wasn't much, like they showed a lot of like cool scenery, cool shots, and all that sort of thing. They gave you until you got into the first episode, you didn't know
you didn't
how
know
much they were gonna
much they were gonna do, because I mean, those are settings in the video game of how much gore you want. You can have bodies explode, or they just kind of flop down, ragdoll. And that first, like when the Raiders pull off that sneak attack, and they don't hold back on
their own version of the Red Wedding.
I mean, like she getting stabbed, and then you see what stim packs can do.
Again, they don't explain what's going on, but knowing the games and all that, what's going on. But that's the other best thing about it. You can watch this from two levels: a fan of the series or just being introduced to it.
And I will say watching this series, it made me fire up Fallout 4 again. And
that's what they're all like. All the shops are opening up again, selling hundreds of again, the money is just pouring in,
just rolling in
the game,
just in time for now. Fallout 76 I've never played, mainly because they had that huge issue when they first rolled out, and I guess they fixed some of that, but I have no interest in playing a co-op version of Fallout. The whole idea is you're the lone wanderer. It's you. You might have some companions, but at the end of the day, it's all about your journey.
I like how we so quickly got to enjoy being around Lucy.
Yes.
Lucy.
Well,
Yeah, that was her name,
I
Lucy.
think part of that is, I mean, the actress pulled it off
Yeah,
so well. She
exactly.
had
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that
She.
that, that
Yeah,
bubbly optimism that's slowly eroding away as she
yeah, exactly.
like comes to the
But you're
wasteland.
there rooting for her to get to her goal by like the end of like the second episode. You're all like, yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah. But it was, and I love how quickly is it the second or third episode that all the storylines suddenly cross?
Yeah, we just
Like they
like
all in the shootout and all that sort of thing. And yeah, it was fantastic. And then again, they separate and keep coming back. And it was just so, and it was so entertaining to watch. And it was so, like I said, being an original story in a familiar atmosphere
mhm.
was a breath of fresh air. Instead of
It was.
rehashing stuff that, again, if you hadn't seen anything about Fallout or hadn't played the video games, it wouldn't have mattered, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
from people that do know the series, it
Yeah,
was nice to
you
see a new,
play
yeah,
Fallout 3, you're in DC. Play Fallout 4, you're in the Commonwealth, which is like Boston. New Vegas is, well, guess where you are. So
exactly,
this was nice, like when you saw like the LA Pier and you're like, oh, okay, we're gonna be in California. So,
yeah,
a little bit of a change, but
exactly,
California is the big
yeah, yeah.
Republic of California and the Enclave and the Brotherhood of Steel. They're fighting back and forth. Um, I will have my fingers crossed that we see the Enclave power armor, like the XO1 and the XO2 suits, show up, and I want to see a big power armor fight between the Brotherhood of Steel and the Enclave at some point. Um,
I mean, from what they gave us, not knowing what was going to happen after this, because I
yeah,
don't think, even though it has a hey, we've set up a second season ending, right?
yeah,
There was no guarantee that it was going to. But again, I think they just put it on there, going, well, if we get it, we get it. If we don't,
exactly.
everyone
And
will be
that
happy,
end
right?
shot, you see Vegas, and he's
Yeah.
running in the power, and then they pan down, and there's the Death Claw skull, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh god, they have to get a second season. And the
Yeah,
second
exactly.
announced,
Yeah.
I was like, yes,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. That was a fun one to watch. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed the hell out of that whole
We had someone in the household watching it without any knowledge of Fallout to begin with, except for
okay,
the fact that they knew that there were games.
okay.
They knew about the Vault Tech
Mhm.
idea, and because someone in the household also played all the games, even got the version that came with the Pip Boy and all that sort of thing. So that was a little bit of understanding, but the actual world, nothing much and all that. So, and they thoroughly enjoyed it as well.
Yeah,
So, I mean, yeah.
it was a great mini. To me, it was like, this is how you do it right when you adapt
Mm-hmm.
something, and then
Yeah.
there are many of how you do it wrong.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, you get more wrong than you do right, but that's why when you get them right, it's that much more special.
Indeed
Yeah.
it is. All right, what do you got?
Okay. So, the beginning of the week, I finished the new completely spoiled in the trailer Abigail movie. The
Okay.
ballerina vampire girl.
Mhm.
Um, First of all, I want to state that is the fact that after watching the whole entire movie, you could have totally edited a trailer that didn't give away, first of all, one of the spoilers of the movie. Mind you, within, I think, 20 minutes of the movie happening, it's revealed what is going on. And like at the 35-minute mark, we know that the little girl is a vampire. Spoiler alert,
No,
but it's
no.
in the trailer. It's in the trailer and they figure out and whatnot. Um,
I just a little side note. I think we need a return of like the Who is Darkman sort of trailers. Give
yeah,
nothing away and make
yeah.
you want to go see the movie.
Exactly, exactly. But again, the way you could have like I might sit down and friggin' well edit a trailer and because you could make it look like it was a mystery character that is sure it's a vampire, but it's not the little girl. It's someone trying to get the little girl back or something
Mhm.
like that, or she's like belongs to a vampire and whatnot. I mean, they've done that storyline hundreds of times and all that. But
Yeah.
again, this is your typical group of nobody knows anyone, like your Reservoir Dogs are brought together to do this heist. And what it is they kidnap this little girl and are asking $50 million for her return. turns out that she is the daughter of this kingpin that is even more into crime than crime itself, apparently. And everyone, when they find out who it is, are like scared shitless. And of course, you got the barrage of characters and whatnot. And instead, like Reservoir Dogs, instead of being given colors as their names, they are given the names of the Rat Pack members, which is kind of neat to call characters Frank, Sammy, Joey, and so forth and so on, and all that. And Dean and Joey Bishop. One guy is called Don Rickles. Everyone's given their last names, but the one guy who was like making a wisecrack during that, so he says, "Oh, you know what? Then you're Don Rickles," and he's like, "Who's Don Rickles?" So I mean, and again, it's a young group. It's a young group of actors and all that. I mean, one or two are a little bit on the older side, but yeah. So going into it, you know what's going to happen. You just are waiting for it to happen, and everything you expect to happen happens. However, it is very entertaining, and it is very fun to watch because the audience is ahead of the characters.
Okay.
I mean, a smart audience is ahead of the characters. Let me put it that way, right? So you're like Columbo. You've seen how it's done, and you want to see how they try and figure out how to deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but the nice thing is, except for one or two little sequences, a lot of the effects are all practical. There's a lot of really cool makeup use. There's a lot of blood. There is I'm like the destruction is explosion. Okay, you know how on Buffy they would like dust and all that, burst into dust and all that. Well, these vampires burst into very Tarantino, well, I guess not Rodriguez style explosions of blood to dispense of the undead and all that.
That's
so it's
fine.
really cool to see. And the nice thing is they do a really good job of consistency of the people who have just been doused with blood and how they show up in the next scene and all that sort of thing. I mean, it's a really thought through movie, but again, the originality isn't there because it is something that you've seen before. And like I said, unfortunately, a good portion of the actual story is spoiled by the trailer, and which is unfortunate. But again, if you just want, like, it's an hour, it's just under 2 hours long.
Okay.
But it's nice because you get some character development, and of course, one of our main characters does the whole entire, hey, you are this type of person, you're this type of person, you're this type of person, and that's how you're introduced to the characters. And she's completely correct with all of them, so you don't really need to know much more about the character and all that.
Well, that's good.
And then they start getting picked off one by one, and then it dwindles down to the end, and it is a satisfying yet not very unexpected ending.
Okay.
If anyone is out there to see it, I mean, you're welcome to enjoy it. I like I said, I still enjoyed it. I love vampire movies. The actors are great. The little girl is fantastic. She does a great flip between innocent little girl to killer monster and all that sort of thing. So she does a fantastic job. There's a bit of like really cool wire work when she's doing her ballerina, because she's totally doing ballet moves throughout this whole entire thing and all that as a vampire, which is even cooler and all that. So it's an enjoyable movie, if not a little bit on the predictable side. So, okay. But again, there are tons of movies out there that aren't even close to being as entertaining or enjoyable as this movie. So I would suggest, if you don't mind it, this is definitely a one to watch if you don't mind knowing pretty much how it's going to turn out. So yeah, it's a fun ride. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm going to do a quick little thing. So my wife took my two middle children to go see If yesterday.
Right.
And the kids loved it because, big characters and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, trailers do a lot of things like, the main character or the main imaginary friend by Steve Carell is named Blue, even though he's purple. And he's like, well, my kid was colorblind. That's why I'm, that's one of the running jokes.
Yeah.
But my wife's response to the film was actually interesting. She was like, the film kind of like jumps in with minimal exposition and expects the audience to know certain things. Like, so we follow this little girl and her mom dies of cancer. And then suddenly the dad is in the hospital and he's like, I got a broken heart, but it's going to get better. And he's in the children's hospital. Now my wife's like, 90% of the people there will not understand why this guy's in a children's hospital if, because he has a congenital heart defect. So adult patients are taken to kids' hospitals.
Yeah.
Because that's more of a kid sort of level thing. And they have the people there who specialize in these sort of things. So if you didn't know that, you'd be like, well, why is the dad in like a pediatric?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you wouldn't understand the severity when the dad says he has a broken heart. You're like, oh, he's just sad. And then like, no, he has a congenital heart defect. Right. So she goes to live with grandma. And as Mare said, it just they really skimp on the exposition. They just get really into, hey, here's a bunch of like really goofy characters. And you're expected to just know, oh, well, we're going up to Coney Island and it's like a rest home for ifs. But we don't see a lot of them, how they get connected to the various kids. So she walked away from the movie a little unsatisfied. So visually it's got some really nice things, but really skimped on the storytelling so that they could have some really nice visuals.
That's most unfortunate.
Yeah, so she was like, as an adult sitting in the audience, you're like, some more storytelling, please. Don't just assume people are going to know that if a dad in a pediatric hospital has a congenital heart defect. You need a doctor off to the side talking to the grandma saying, so he has a heart defect that we can correct here, or try to correct here, and not just like, hey, there was no room in the general hospital, so we brought him over to the kids' hospital because there's a spare bed. Like, for a layman sitting in the audience, you're not gonna make that.
That's true. Yeah. That's a good point.
So little things like that kind of stood out to her, especially as being a doctor. Be like, she instantly,
that helps.
Yeah, she was like, oh, this and that, and she was like, but yeah, most of the other adults sitting in the audience are not going to catch that.
Gotcha.
So she had mixed feelings about it. She said visually it was a very, very pretty movie. Some very inventive ideas for these different ifs, but just not the best storytelling.
Okay. Now, because when I saw the first trailers out of, I'm like, oh, Foster is a home for imaginary friends.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, because the little girl is Max, but it's obviously a little different a situation.
Yeah,
where
she said there's a bit of a twist to the ending, so I said I don't want to know the twist. I'll wait for it to come out and I'll watch it. So I don't know what the twist is.
Yeah, but could you take a guess at the twist? I have a feeling I know what the twist is.
I think I guessed it, and because she didn't confirm or deny, so I think I guessed it that Ryan Reynolds is an if.
That's exactly what I'm going with as well. Yeah.
So he's not just finding new homes for these ifs just because he's bored. It's like he's trying to help himself too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to shift gears here. So something that came out on Friday.
Yes.
On Netflix is the film Atlas with Jennifer Lopez.
Yes, I wanted to. Yeah, I saw the trailer for this. And I'm like, oh, when the hell did this get made? I mean, what?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead.
So the plot for this one is, AI is now a thing. But the AI revolt.
Yes.
And there's like a huge war between humans and AIs, and this one AI flees off planet because now space travel's a thing. They don't really get into deep of how space travel's a thing, but space travel's a thing. And so they have this analyst who specializes in, AI and interrogating AI and stuff like that. And they find out where this guy is, and he's on a planet way hell gone. And they're like, well, we'll send the Marines who have these giant exosuits, who have a nascent AI, and you have a little link thing that you put on your ear, and then you and the AI can sync, and it makes you, greater than the sum of its parts sort of thing. And she ends up saying, well, I know this AI you're hunting better than anybody. I want to be part of the mission. And the colonel in charge is like, okay. So they go there, and it's a whole thing's a big trap. And she ends up, they ambush the drop ship, or the battle, the destroyer, whatever it is. She gets tossed into a power suit and dumped and she ends up having to communicate with the battle suits AI and form a bond. And the whole time they're like, well, you've got to sync to 100% to get the full functionality, and they go through trials and tribulations, yada yada yada. Okay. This movie is kind of like the opposite of If. They are so exposition heavy. For the first 30 minutes, it's just someone is basically filling you in. A whole lot of tell, not a whole lot of show. I mean, there's visuals going on, but it is a shit ton of exposition. The action really kicks off when she gets, chucked in the mech and thrown onto the planet.
Yeah.
That's when the action starts to pick up. And also, this is, I think, where Jennifer Lopez is able to show some acting chops, because it's her against a voice. So it's her emoting.
Yes, which is a difficult thing to do sometimes.
It's kind of like the whole Castaway, her and Wilson. So it's more of a chance for her to express herself as an actress, and she does a really good job.
Good. That's good to know.
The story is by no means original, nor is the conclusion original. But it had some good points. Throughout the whole process of her syncing with her AI, because it's up to that point, communicating with AI was a one-way street. The human communicates to the AI. And they make a thing about, well, this is now a two-way street. You and the AI communicate back and forth. You gain access to all the AI systems, and it gains access to you. And she's very closed off, very distrustful of AI. And
because she's been hunting.
Well, it as the story progresses, we find out why she's very distrustful of AI. She's carrying a lot of survivor's guilt. Her mother killed herself. Her mother was actually one of the lead scientists who helped develop this particular AI, who went rogue and then made all the other AI rogue. He changed his programming and then changed their programming too. So she feels a lot of survivor's guilt of, at least what we feel is survivor's guilt up until towards the end of the movie. And then we find out the full story of what went on, and the guilt she feels. And then finally they can sync, and la la la, there's a big fight. And the nice thing is, Simu Liu is the
the embodiment of the AI that she's hunting, right?
Yes, of that AI. And not a giant cast.
No, I was just looking at the main cast, but it's an impressive cast. It's got Sterling K. Brown, and it's got Mark Strong, and it's got Lana Parrilla.
So it's Mark Strong is there, like there and gone sort of thing. He only shows up at the start and the end.
He's really featured in the trailer. Really?
He's
that's
only really there at the start and at the end. So it's. Would I recommend this movie if you like mechs and power suits? Yes.
If that's your kink.
if you like Jennifer Lopez, yes.
Okay.
If you're going down the flow chart and you hit either of those boxes and you're like, take the no path, probably not the movie for you. This movie could have been better written. It was, I mean, as I said, she did a great job acting, but it could have been written a lot better. The effects kind of felt like a lot of it were lifted out of a late newest gen video game. Like nothing. It could have been pushed a lot further.
Okay, I got something here after seeing the trailer, because that's all that I saw was the trailer. I had very After Earth vibes to it.
I think better than After Earth, because she can act and Jaden Smith can't.
No. I mean the look to it. The overall.
Earth, I mean, when you see Earth, there's a lot of like ad space and multiple. I mean, like at one point her mother's talking, like doing a symposium. It's like a recording. She's saying, "My daughter got a hold of my smartphone. Do you remember those?" Because I mean, smartphones are so outdated at that point. And she was like, I didn't want to get into screen time, but it kept her quiet, and mommy needed a shower and stuff like that. They joke about that. So they have gone so far past that, where a lot of stuff is like voice activated. You're just like, hey, what's the weather going to be? A little screen pops in front of you, and this is today's weather, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, I see. So Jennifer Lopez's name is Atlas. That's
Yes,
where the
her
title
name
comes
is
from. Okay, her
yeah,
name
her
is
name
Atlas.
is
I was
Atlas
trying to see
Shepard.
why it's called Atlas, but it's named after her. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So her character's name is Atlas Shepard.
Okay.
Um, and
I thought it would have had something a little more to do with maybe a storyline, but no, we're
no,
just
they just named it after the
the
main
main
character.
character is called
Yeah.
Atlas. All
So
right.
as I said, if you're into power suits or you like Jennifer Lopez as an
Mm-hmm.
actress, this would probably be a fun movie to watch. Don't just turn off your brain because they're gonna slam you with so much exposition. In the first 30 minutes, you're gonna be like, I need to pause this so I can let all the like just wipe the diarrhea off my face because it's just a whole lot of talking and exposition.
All
Um,
right.
yeah,
But if you got Netflix, it's free if you want to spend however
exactly.
long
You've
you want
already
to
paid for
watch it. How long
Netflix.
is it?
I think it's
It
like
is. I'm trying to find it here. It
120
looks like it's
minutes,
it's almost
2 hours.
it's almost 2 hours.
Yeah,
Ouch.
yeah. So
2 hours of a movie that's not enjoyable to watch is a little different than a 2 hour movie of a okay movie that's kind of fun to watch.
yeah, yeah. So as I said, this one was I like power suits, so that
Yeah.
kept me
Yeah.
going. Um, but yeah, it was after a while, it was like, come on already.
Okay.
And there was, I mean, there were certain questions that you're like, wait a second, can't this do this? But it's never addressed. And you're like, well, okay, I guess we'll just
Gotcha.
if they don't address it, I guess it's something that can't be done. Let's keep
All
right on
right.
trucking, I guess.
All right. I see. That
So yeah.
well, that's unfortunate. But again, like I just saw the trailer and it's like, oh, this seems a little like this,
Yeah,
but
it popped up in my feed a couple days ago of just like, hey, by the
right.
way, Atlas is coming Friday, and I was like, oh, well, watch it. Okay, yeah, I mean, giant mech suit. To me, the Love, Death, and Robots,
Mm-hmm.
the little short suits where they're protecting the
Yeah.
farms.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what these power suits felt like, except for there's an AI that's constantly talking back to the pilot.
Okay. All
So
right.
yeah.
Just a quick little tangent for myself. Doctor Who is back.
Mm-hmm.
And we have now the 15th Doctor. And it is being in part sponsored by Disney because it's appearing on Disney Plus. And
Yes, it is.
the 14th Doctor, who is the return of David Tennant to the role, is when it started. And by God, the budget has so skyrocketed because of Disney backing it now, which is kind of funny because in the when Russell T Davies first brought back with David Eccleston as Nine, it was being backed by the CBC, which was kind of an interesting thing to realize. And now it's
a different money point.
yes, exactly. And then it went to what was I think it was them for a little while, and then it was another corporation, and then it went to like the USA Network helped them out, and then they went independent for a while, and now Disney is in, I mean, putting up a good portion of money, and you can definitely tell from it. But again, you're also looking at something that's been on the air for almost 15, 18 years and all that. Someone's going to crucify me later about that numbers because off the
Yeah.
top of my head,
Doctor
I
Who's been
can't.
around for a long time.
Yes, well, Doctor Who itself, yes, 60 years has been around, but the
Yeah.
incarnation of since Russell T Davies. But again, Russell T Davies has returned and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and your storylines are fantastic. Your acting is
Yeah.
top notch, and you know what? Your 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 look is fantastic. It's no longer the bubble machine slime creature with made of bubble wrap of the week. We're talking top-notch effects, fantastic makeup, some really great like performances and all that. And again, there are stuff that is again green screen for purposes, and they do have the hey, this is an effects heavy episode. The next episode is a little light on the effects,
I'll just
but
interject.
it's yeah,
61 years.
61 years. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because, yes, the
1963.
last year would have been the 61st year, but unfortunately, because of COVID, everything got set back. So, yes, the 61st year was basically the return of David Tennant to another incarnation of the Doctor that wasn't the 10th, but a new 14th version because of situations from the story. And I'm not going to spoil anything because they are fun to watch. And the new actor whose name I always constantly forget how to pronounce. I know you don't pronounce the C at the beginning of his name, but he is doing a fantastic job. And even though he's got some crazy episodes, they're a little bit on the whimsical side, which is kind of neat because it's Russell T Davies coming back to put more life into what has been a bit of a not a bore, but just a different, it's no longer as dark as the ones that 13 had to deal with Jodie Whittaker as the doctor. But yeah, it's been fun. And the nice thing is it's on Disney Plus, so it's easy to get your hands on if
Nutigawa?
you have it.
Is
Sorry.
that his name?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's
Nutigawa.
Nutigawa. Thank you. Yes.
All right.
He does a fantastic job. And in the one episode where he was introduced, it was kind of neat because him and David Tennant got to interact with each other for reasons for the episode that they regeneration goes slightly sideways. So it was kind of neat to have that and all that. And plus, the bad guy in that episode was Neil Patrick Harris putting on a fantastically over the top German accent as one of the Doctor's original, like the first Doctor's bad guys, which was the toy maker.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it was just a fantastic way to go through the story. And like I said, we're getting weekly episodes. Again, we're only going to get 10 because that's how the BBC runs stuff and all that. But it's nice that we're seeing this huge improvement in quality. I mean, in the look of it and all that.
Yeah.
So it's just really fun. It's a fun ride, and everyone here is enjoying it because we're introducing the little one to. We started her off with 9. We're now into halfway through 10, and
Okay.
she's really enjoying it. Every once in a while, she's like, "Can we watch Doctor Who?" And I'm like, "Yes, we can." So
Why,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, exactly. So we didn't get to watch this week's episode yet, so we'll probably wait until everyone's home at the same time to watch the new episode. But yeah, we're really enjoying the new Doctor Who, and we're eventually going to be showing her. We'll show her bits and pieces of classic Who. We'll probably show her a lot of 4 and 5 because my favorite Doctor is 4. Her mom's is 5, so it's a lot of that sort of stuff. And we also like 7 too, because Sylvester
Yeah.
McCoy is pretty cool too. So yeah.
So looking ahead, what do we have?
Yes. Well, the most the new the most the thing that is most upcoming that is something that I would like to be able to get into the movie theaters to see is Deadpool and Wolverine
Okay.
at the end of July.
Yep.
There's some other things in June that I'd like to see as well, but nowadays it's damn near impossible to get out to the theaters to see anything. I
Yeah.
mean, with work and family, like you yourself, I mean, when are
Yeah.
you going to be able to get into it? When was the last time you were in a movie theater?
Uh, Godzilla.
Mhm.
Godzilla X. Or yeah.
-1?
Yeah, -1.
Oh,
That
you
was
saw
like
-1 in the theater?
I saw
Oh,
-1 in the theater. That
it's
was
in my queue to start watching like probably tomorrow and all that sort of thing. I've heard
yeah, it
so
was
many good things about it.
it honestly it was such a breath of fresh air for
That's what
Godzilla.
I'm hearing. That's
Like
I'm hearing every like even like not even fans of the series are like, oh, that was a pretty good movie.
honestly, Godzilla is treated like an element, like rain, hurricane,
Yeah,
typhoon, and it's
yeah,
more of a story with the people, the survivors, and it was just yeah,
yeah.
it was phenomenal.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad that is. Yeah. Because I did recently see Godzilla X Kong.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean it
it,
was what it was,
it
right?
was
I
a
mean,
film.
they're they're not they're not they seem like they're trying to do some sort of continuity between the movies. I mean,
I
which they
guess,
are,
but
from Godzilla to Kong Island to Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong to
yeah,
Godzilla X Kong.
yeah. It's just
There it's like it's like you're going from company to like there's a different company in charge of it every single time. I'm like, oh, this is what they did here. Well, let's do our version of it and all that sort of thing. I
Yeah.
mean, it was fun, but it made me feel like I was watching the Godzilla universe if it was controlled by Michael Bay. It
Yeah, it
felt
really was.
the latest, this last one felt so Transformers
Oh, it did.
because the 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 previous one, Godzilla versus Kong, was actually not bad. I mean, it was actually kind of a solid story, uh, good characterization of the human characters and all that sort of
Hmm.
thing, and the effects were kind of neat. But this one just went a little overboard on like, hey, let's
Oh,
introduce a whole new slew. I'm like, no, why don't you just bring back stuff that we know that was out there? I mean, Godzilla King of Monster. No, wait. What was
yeah.
the
King
Godzilla
of
one where
Monsters
they
really
bring?
had King Ghidorah and
Yeah, exactly. Where they brought in all the. Why don't you bring back some of those Titans instead
yeah.
of like giving us new stuff? And I'm like,
Well, he beat those
okay,
Titans up and killed a bunch of them and
yeah,
laid down in the
I know,
Colosseum.
but let's, yeah. But
Yeah.
again, it was all right. It was fine. It was a fine movie. I didn't after it, I was all like, okay, that wasn't so bad. I mean, you've done better. It's like part of a series. Like you'll like some more than you will others. This was one of the
Yeah.
ones that are like, okay, this is more of a Nightmare on Elm Street 5 than a Nightmare on Elm Street 3 sort of
Yeah.
thing. I mean, it was all right.
Yeah.
But the last movie that I saw in the movie theaters was Frozen Empire, the Ghostbusters Frozen
Oh yeah, we
Empire.
saw that one. Yeah, we saw that. We saw
Yeah.
that back in February. We were on vacation
Yeah.
and we took the kids to go see it.
I saw it on I saw it the Thursday opening night. I was able to because the theater was starting the movie in enough time for me to get to my midnight shift at work. So I was all like, hey,
Okay.
yay, timing. Um, Look, I enjoyed the movie. It was fine. I don't know why Bill Murray was there.
I don't know why
There
a couple of
was
characters were like Finn
I
Wolfhard was
know
not needed there. His girlfriend not needed. Like
no,
they could
no,
have been complete. Like they could have been off to college, and it would have been
exactly. Yeah.
fine.
I don't think I mean like the storyline with what's his face, the comedian that had the orb to begin with,
Yeah.
his character could have been fleshed out a lot
Oh,
better,
tremendously more.
or just had a different purpose for the orb. I
Yeah.
mean, the idea of his character was a cool idea, and that would have been a nice prequel, or it would have been neat to do like one of their like before the movie sort of like shorts or something like that,
Yeah.
which would have been kind of neat to do that sort of
Yeah. I
programming.
was.
But
It was what. I mean, I was just like, they were trying to do too many nostalgia bombs,
yeah, yeah,
and it was
yeah.
just like, guys, it's not hitting. It's not hitting like
which
the last one.
which sucks because the previous movie had hit all the nostalgia at the exact right points. It was hit it every single one was a home run right up into the very end. I mean, bringing back Egon's ghost to help in the fight, and
Yeah.
it was just fantastic.
I
This time
think
when they trick,
what Frozen Empire needed was Rick Moranis, but he had like there's this whole
yeah,
thing where uh
yeah,
the guy who plays Winston Zenbor said they offered him more than they paid him, and he
yeah,
said no.
yeah,
And part of that is they couldn't come up with a convincing way of why he would be there.
exactly, exactly.
And
He also had mentioned that's the reason why he they had asked him to be in the the other
yeah,
sequel, the previous one, and
Afterlife.
Afterlife, and he was all like, "There's no reason for me to be there. You're not even in New York City."
Yeah.
And so
At the
when
time they
they
were,
went to
but
New York City,
they still
yeah,
could
but
they couldn't
yeah,
come up with a valid enough reason for him to be
no, for
around.
sure, yeah,
Um yeah,
but yeah,
so
I enjoyed the movie. The unfortunate thing is, yeah, Bill Murray just looked like, here's the 2 days that I'm showing up. You better shoot these scenes. And
yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. He's like, just give
come
me my
on,
paycheck.
Bill, don't be that
Yeah,
way.
he just
Or
kind of
just
really
don't
phoned it in.
show up. I
Yeah.
mean, I love the fact that uh, Dan Aykroyd got to play that excited rejuvenated character, like to suddenly get back into the game and all that. He played that fantastic. And Ernie Hudson was fantastic as the money man, the guy in charge now, which was great.
Yeah.
That final showdown inside the firehouse just made it seem like such a, and I know it was because they went to the UK to recreate the set. It just seemed like a very small set to do this giant ending
giant
of what
fight.
should have been a world-ending situation.
It should have been, and the fight should have taken place in Central Park.
It should have been in an open area. You're right.
Like frozen the lake at Central Park.
Yeah.
And something like that. Like something.
Yeah, it should have been out in the open, not and because I mean, yeah, it just I enjoyed the movie. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the movie. But it's not my favorite Ghostbusters movie. There's 5 to choose from, and the first one is always going to be the top of the list.
It is.
And then you just juggle the other 4 movies however you're feeling and all that.
Exactly.
If I feel nostalgia for seeing Ivan Reitman shooting a half decent movie, then I'll watch 2 more than I'll in the others. If I want to see Paul Rudd being his Paul Rudd best, I'll watch it.
Yeah,
and
I'll watch Acolyte.
Yeah.
So like the rest of this summer, I mean, we have Despicable Me 4, which the kids they want to see that.
Yes, of course they would. Yes.
And then it's like, is there really? I mean, we've got Deadpool Wolverine, which was mentioned.
Yeah.
But what else really is there?
You've also got to take into consideration this is a dead summer because of the writer strike from last year. Nothing was able to either finish production or go into production that would be coming out.
I mean, there are a couple things. There's like Alien Romulus, which I've heard nothing.
Again, yeah. I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, again, it's an alien movie. Why not? Yeah. I'll go see that. I want to see it in the theater because of the spectacle. Visually, it's going to be stunning.
It's going to be. But yeah, I was just looking through the list here. We got Beetlejuice in September.
Beetlejuice is definitely a C for me because I am making a costume and I've got a couple of other people that are going to be we're all going to be doing different Beetlejuices to go see it. I'm going to try and do the Broadway Beetlejuice. To go see the movie. So yeah.
In October, we have the Joker sequel, which I didn't like the first one with.
I haven't seen the first one. So
Joaquin Phoenix he's a great actor, but it's just
And I like Lady Gaga. I love the fact that it's going to be a musical because Lady Gaga definitely has the chops to sing. I just don't, from what I've seen from the trailer.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would enjoy seeing, because I mean, Joker is one of my favorite comic book characters of all time, and I've almost I almost said all incarnations of it have been enjoyable to some point. I mean, for whatever reason, whatever actor brings to it, whatever they do with the characters is and all that sort of thing. But I couldn't wrap my mind around a version of the Joker that seemed like it was from Taxi Cab. Like it looked too much like that type of movie, like a King of Comedy show. Like it just I don't see what the reason for that was. So yeah.
Other things we have third Venom film in October.
Don't forget is Craven? Is Craven this year?
I thought it was this year.
I think Craven.
I know it got pushed back.
It might have got pushed back to next year. Yeah.
Gladiator 2. How?
I know. I don't understand that one either. Yeah. I'm sorry that I missed Furiosa this week in the theaters. That's what got released. I'd like to maybe try and get to the theater to see that.
I might try for that one. I might just wait.
But again, it'll be because it's a spectacle in the theater. I mean, you want to see his type of movie on the big screen, sort of thing. Yeah.
At the end of November, we have Wicked, which is
that's
the play.
We're doing costumes for that, so
as well as Moana 2,
which out of nowhere,
I will have to say. So my family, for the longest time, we had Wall-E playing in the car because I have like the screens that flip up and stuff, and the kids watch. I mean, Fred and Harrison watched Wall-E like every time they were in the car. Eventually the girls got sick of it and were like, all right, so I threw in Moana. Moana has now been playing in that car since mid-January. Every time I have offered to swap it out, no. I mean, Harrison will belt out all the songs,
nice.
As will Freddie, and get Ramona singing them, and occasionally Josie will join in. So I'm like, well, I just keep it in and keep going. So it is on constant. So when I showed them the trailer for Moana 2, and they're all like super excited. So I'm like, all right, we'll just keep doing it.
Out of the blue, all of a sudden there's a trailer for Moana 2.
Yeah,
I'm like, wait,
Moana
what?
2.
What? What?
And then I think in December is Craven, Lord of the Rings, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Mufasa, and Nosferatu. But honestly, the bulk of those will not see in theater. Like there's so many films I'm just like, I'll watch it when it comes to video or streaming or something. I don't need to see it in the theater. There's a couple that I'm like, ooh.
There is a chance that I might be seeing Sonic 3 in the theaters just because the other two are big hits here. They were not seen in the theater. And
Fred really likes Sonic 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, unless the kids are going to the theater, I'm probably not going myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the only other one is Wicked, because we're all dressing up as Wizard of Oz characters. I'm redoing my Scarecrow costume. So yeah, I mean, the only reason I'm going to the theaters to see movies is to dress up in costume. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to wrap us up here.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
So everyone
listening. So this has been fun. Hopefully we get to do this again really, really soon. I'm gonna shoot for maybe next week that we can do this. So that would be
next week, maybe. We'll see, because Josie has a race on Saturday and Mare has a big thing she's been planning through the hospital Sunday. So we'll see.
All right, then we'll see what we can do when we do it.
All right, sounds good. So if you're listening in, toodles. Thanks for
watching. Take care. You want to do a collective goodbye?
Oh, we'll try. Ready? 3.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Collective goodbye. Almost not bad for not having done it for a couple of months.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.
This has been Geeking Off The Page, a Planet Geek production. Please be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can find us at our social medias through Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Search for Planet Geek Productions. On Instagram and Twitter, Planet Geek Pod. Or you can send us an email at planetgeekpod@gmail.com. So until next bad time, same spider channel, may the force be with you, and thanks for tuning in. Quiet you, puppy. So that's basically what Star Wars went on today. Oh no, don't stop. Don't start up now. No, we just started recording. I don't want to have to start editing already.
It's fine. It's just added sound effects.
Exactly. Well, there's no other parenting home right now, and no one else is actually awake. Let's see if I can get her to come over to come here, Penelope. Come here.
It's all about I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, you want to come over here? Don't just stand there and stare at the back of my head. I'm going to be talking to my friend here. And then everyone else that's listening as well.
Yeah. So, put up or shut up, dog.
Okay, come here. Oh, you're going to try and crawl over me, are you? Okay. No. If I have to take you out for a walk, I am going to be really pissed, which I might have to do.
It's all good.
Yeah. No.
Exactly.
No. It looks like that's what I'm gonna have to do. All right. So I'll get back to you in like 10 minutes.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Okay. See you in a sec, Trev.